So I have a web link in my clipboard. This is a web link that, as a company, you can send out to your customers. It could be a web link that you put on your website or made available via social media or email campaign. But typically we have a web link, and we'll just drop that into a browser window. And then we'll see what a visitor sees. So you sent this link to a potential customer, they click on it, paste it into the browser, and they'll be dropped into the relevant Matterport space. So here we are. So we've got Matterport in the background. You see that okay? Great. And Zuant 3D pops up this contact capture dialog, because the first thing we need to do is just find out who the visitor is. So I'll be a fictitious visitor called Fred Dart.
And so for clarification, in order to visit this Matterport tour, the visitor needs to complete this lead generation form. Yes.
In the current version, you can't get beyond this dialogue without popping your details in and then consenting to the privacy policy. Okay, so once you've done that, then the Let's Get Going button becomes enabled. So we now know who the visitor is. We'll click the Let's Get Going button, and we're just dropped into Matterport. So this is now just very standard Matterport. I'm now Fred Dart, who's looking around in the Herman Miller showroom. And let's imagine that what Fred's really after are some of those very lovely, very expensive Herman Miller chairs that we all would like. I don't have one of those yet. I'm sure you've got that on your list. So it looks like reception seating over there. Let's take a trip down here in the space, see if we can find some of those chairs. So I'm now wandering around in the space. This looks like it's just more reception seating or sort of breakout zone type seating. Let's have a look over here, wander in this direction. So I've got some chairs here on this racking, but that doesn't look like the sort of premium chairs that I'm after. So let's keep going. Some more breakout zone areas here. It's not quite what I'm after. Oh, hang on a minute. What have we got going over here? Right, this looks more like it. So here are the Herman Miller premium chairs looking very nice. So this is the sort of thing I'd like. I can hover on these tags. We've got the Aeron chair, the embodied chair. So this is looking good. I've got some white ones here. These look quite nice. The Mirror 2 chair looks good. Sail chair. So this is more like it. Now, remember, what we're doing here is we are Fred, and we've all been observing Fred's journey through the space. And before Zuant 3D came along, we'd be none the wiser as to what Fred has been doing, what he's been looking at, what his journey has been. But now what we can do is head over to the back-end portal, and we can actually see some rather interesting things about Fred's journey. So I'll just move on over to the portal. And I'm going to refresh this list of activity. What Zuant 3D has been doing, it's been recording all of that activity from Fred. And we can see that here. So it's in reverse chronological order. So the latest thing is at the top, where he hovered on the sail chair. And if you look down this list, then we can see all of the things that Fred did. So each step that he took when he hovered on a tag, everything he did has all been recorded as individual time-stamped activities. So you've got the whole list here. So we're now looking at this back at our HQ. And it's very interesting to see. We've got charts as well. There's a view charts menu item up here, top left. I'll click that. And that will show us some aggregations really of not just Fred, but all of the data for all of the visitors. This is just a demo account. You can see here, total activities so far in this account, 453. You've got some pie charts there showing how much time has been spent in the different spaces that we have, and some other interesting stats. But of more interest, really, on the sales lead front, menu at the top here, we've got sales leads. So I'll click on the leads link. And this will now show us the actual sales leads. And you can see Fred, again, it's in reverse chronological order at the moment. So we've got Fred Dart at the top, and look across to the column on the far right. The status of this lead for Fred Dart is that it's in progress, okay, because he's currently in there wandering around. You can see column to the left, the activity count, there are 35 activities for Fred. Okay. And if I click on this lead, then it will actually show me the individual activities for Fred. Okay, so I can get in and see all the detail. But it's interesting just to see the aggregation there. And eventually the system will detect that Fred is no longer moving around in the space, and it will then wrap up all of these activities, and it will conclude the lead. If we look at the other leads, certainly if we look at the column on the far right again, we can see they're all concluded. So once that happens, then the system will email the details of the lead to whoever you want to be notified. So you can set up multiple email recipients who will then receive an email saying, thought you'd like to know that Fred Dart has just been visiting this particular space, and here's all of the information. So that's all then readily available. So while we wait for that to conclude, because once it's concluded, we can just pop in and see the email that will be sent. What I'd like to do is just divert over to show you what's involved in setting up one of these experiences. Okay, so let's go and look at our lead capture spaces menu at the top. Again, I'll click on the lead capture spaces link, and that will take us in to look at the existing spaces that we have. And in this account, we've currently got 4 experiences. And you can see on the far right that our Herman Miller London showroom. So what I'd like to do now is create another space, apply sales lead generation to a different space. So I haven't got IKEA in here. As the consultancy firm, there's a whole load of different showrooms that I might want to pop in here. So I'm going to pop up, and I'm now looking at Matterport. So what I need to do is go into Matterport and grab the share link for the Matterport space that I want to use in my lead generation space.